Good evening, everybody. This is producer Keith of the Panda podcast, your amusing and amusing source for all things War Machine, formerly of the Gun Bunnies. And joining me this evening, I have everybody's favorite gun bunny, Cass, uh, who has always been the star of the Gun Bunnies, and
Ah, okay. How
eternally
you
grateful
doing
to
tonight?
Cass. Yep. I am doing great, and I'm hoping we're going to open it up with some local events like we always traditionally do here on the Gun Bunnies podcast. Always want to
Absolutely.
uplift the community, always want to make everybody aware of the local events so we can continue to build this game. So, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I will go ahead and start off with our events. Now, this weekend, I didn't see any upcoming events for the first weekend in February, but the for this upcoming, like for the 14th and the 15th, I'm gonna go ahead and put those out there for everybody. So we have War Machine with FGB Volume 4 at Zlazna 69A, Warsaw, Poland, at the FGB. At Games Explosion, um, we have a steamroller event in Springdale, Arkansas. And they are looking players. So if we can go ahead and fill that out for any Arkansas War Machine players. Let me see. Beyond Odyssey Steamroller in Western Australia, Balcata. It's Beyond Odyssey, it's the 2-89, Arundel Road. And that is the steamroller we have there. That's actually on the Sunday. That's the 15th. Also on the 15th, we have the Broken Hearts Rebalanced Armies at the Bad Moon Cafe in Greater London, United Kingdom. On Sunday, we have the Battle of the Bay at Bay Games in Northumberland, United Kingdom. We have the Broken Heart Bash at Game Castle, Redwood City, in Redwood City, California. And yeah, those are the upcoming events that we have for the weekend of the 14th and the 15th.
all right, let's go on to some news and announcements.
News and announcements. Let me see. So we just had local events. So we have Chief Guard preview. Um, So yeah, we have the Hithgard preview, which went over some of the rules for the upcoming trolls. So we got the preview of Earthworks. Um, so what Earthworks is after deployment before the first turn, you place 3 trapdoor markers within 24 inches of the rear edge, but not within 5 inches of each other. And that's what every Hithgard Warlock's going to have. Um, from what we understand about it, they can model a friendly faction model that is a non-leader can end its normal movement in base contact with a friendly trapdoor marker to go into the tunnels. If it does, it is removed from the table. It gains ambush and the tunnel ambushers rule. And when the unit is returned to play, you don't remove damage from it. Think that's more of a clarifying thing. And tunnel ambushers is when this unit ambushes, instead of being deployed to a table edge, you can deploy it in base contact with a friendly trapdoor marker. The marker is removed from the table, and other markers in this unit are placed in base contact with the first model. Yeah. I think the only other we're gonna get into there's mechanics like sneak attack, which goes over when the turn this model ambushes, you get +2 attack and damage rolls against models within 5 inches. But the vast majority of the mechanic is this entire ambushing from inside of the table. And I know we got a feat later, but just the concept of um, the trapdoors and things like that. Yeah, I wonder too on when you place them, whether it's going to be before or after, like that kind of thing. Because if you're placing out after deployment, but before the first turn. So yeah,
I'm not sure if you mentioned the tunnel ambushers when it's unit ambushes.
yeah, I can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's base contact with the trapdoor marker. And then you remove the trapdoor marker, and then you put the rest of the unit in base contact with the model that you put out there, that you ambushed out there. So, what do you think about this twist on ambush?
I think, you know, here we go. This is that sneak attack that we were mentioning. I think we saw ambush. For those of you that were with us over the weekend, and Jay Beatnick was one of them, Stephen Williams was another one of them. Watching some of the live stream games with Ooh Gaming and the Musing Panda. If you haven't caught any of those are really great games. We had a lot of just amazing guests commentating with us. Peyton, Dan, um, I can't remember the other gentleman. Was with us, and there were several games where people used ambush, um, but I was a little bit underwhelmed. The only thing that the ambush models tended to do was to prevent, kind of were to contest for a turn or so. They didn't usually kind of like allow somebody to win the side if they were already losing it. They just kind of slowed down scoring for a few rounds, which may be all that they wanted to do. But I'm interested to see how this will change up the way that ambush works, or whether or not in the value of how ambush is. Like, do you kind of need to have some ambush troops to deal with the kith kith guard to kind of like counter ambush, if that makes sense? Like whoever ambushes last is kind of has the advantage, right? Like, um,
Yeah, but the kith guard can be theoretically in the center of the table.
that's true, and that's the other thing that I think is good about this ambush that the Kith Guard have. The problem with ambush currently is that ambushing from the side of the board and having to sacrifice movement or action really is difficult. Being able to center to kind of ambush, or the potential to ambush into the fight where yeah, you're not charging, but you can immediately make melee attacks, or you can immediately make ranged attacks, allows you to not feel like you're losing a lot of value. Like you don't just put them in there and then they just kind of die for free. um, that's kind of what I think, that this ambush is going to be strong for this faction, but not necessarily going to be strong for everybody.
Hmm. Hmm.
See, here it was hinted at a little bit at 20 minutes. Wouldn't have to worry about much of sorry.
I think that was also in response to Stephen Williams
Yeah, sorry. Here
earlier
we go.
mentioning the 80 and 20 mil bases and the discussion. I think that that is something that this is pure conjecture, maybe something that is contributing to the rules being it taking some time for them to release it because they're just doing those fine tweaks um, for this kind of thing.
Well, I'll say this to the chat. Here on the Gun Money's podcast, we are all about some wild speculation, and we just love it. So,
That's
go
true.
wild.
That's
I mean,
true.
this is things that we talk about all the time. In the
Hmm.
apartment is just,
Hmm.
what if this and what if that, and it's just a lot of fun, I think. So,
Absolutely. We can go over the feet then, just so we get an idea of what things are going to be looking like. So, breakout, which is Craghorn's feet, is going to be you choose a friendly trapdoor marker within 7 inches of Craghorn, and a friendly faction model with the Tunnel Ambushers rule that is not in play immediately ambushes from the chosen marker, and you choose up to three friendly faction models that ambush this turn, model units, and they gain +2 to damage rolls. And yeah, I agree. Ranged, great. Great for that. That is where you want that, is on a ranged ambush unit. Um, but yeah, um, your opponent kind of it's seeing, unless there is mechanics that allow you to place trapdoor markers, it's gonna be real rough to either have Craghorn up that far, not even knowing anything about his stats. Don't need to. It would be.
There we go. That's what we like to see, Steven. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, that's what we like to see.
Actually, I'll be honest with you. Looking at this feat, I'm not really that impressed with it. Like, choose up to 3 friendly
Neither am I.
faction model. Well, it's model units. Okay, so it's units. So if it's unit, that's a lot better. Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, Butcher gets D3+2 models that he just gets to add an additional die of damage to. This is only +2, which is, a die is what, 3.5 damage on average, right?
Yeah, 3.5, but
But
it's
if you
subject
get
to
to do it to
swing.
units, um, then that really ups the number. So yeah, maybe this is better than I was thinking of
Yeah,
initially.
but I want you to consider this. You get to do it in units. But right now, there does not exist a thing in the game that allows you to charge from ambush.
That's true.
So
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what you're saying.
exactly, yeah. So +2 damage is almost like a rebate to the fact you didn't get to charge with this unit.
Yeah, and if they have a lot of cheap ambush people, or if people get ambush, you know, uh, as an additional rule in the faction, or if casters maybe have, uh, what is it, elite cadre for ambush, or certain like that for certain models, right? Like that could be really good. And
So
yeah.
I think one of the things we can discuss here, technically, although it doesn't directly apply to the trapdoors, but the concept of having an army that has a ton of ambush, is we had a lot of talks when we were getting into Mark IV about Gators, because they had a lot of solos and units that have ambush. But I think the benefit there was both, they were cheap ambushing solos, like 2 point solos.
Oh, those guys were good. I remember what you're talking about now. It's like, oh, you think you're doing a good job by killing this model, but then it explodes on you and kills your models back? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that
Uh-huh.
that guy was terrible.
That guy was terrible.
He left
Well,
scars, like mental wounds.
that was the Gatorman. I'm trying to remember what it's
Was it the
called.
Gatorman Husk?
Yeah, it was the Husk. It was the Husk.
Super fun if you're not on the receiving end. Ugh.
Yeah, the Husk. I also had trawlers, like trawlers, but I never got to use trawlers. I was using husks in those lists, and the unit that comes with the 2 man that throw the nets, the little frogs with the nets, those with, with Jaga Jaga. But Jaga Jaga had a sacrifice fee. So it made sense. You're protecting the units that you're using to sacrifice on somebody, and you had a requirement of distance, to do that. So you weren't expecting the model to actually do anything. Yeah, the croak trappers. You weren't expecting the models to do anything with their ambush, just die. And same thing for the husks, honestly. The husks were there just to be a pain and die. Because in death, they did their rule. They did their sprays.
Right. And I mean, I think, JB Nick, I mean, ambush is, I think, a great rule if the price is right, right? For paying 5 points for a unit of 5 models that ambush, it's probably a pretty good value, right? Paying 10 points for a unit of 5 models that ambush, or maybe 6 models in ambush may not be the right price because they might just die, before they can really do the work that they need to do, right? Like at 10 points, you're expecting kind of a lot more out of a unit than you would for, say, 5 points, right? Um, and these guys are like very value, right? Like they're very inexpensive. They get a
They're
lot.
so yeah.
Yeah, they can get a lot of work done, right? Um, Even if they die. I mean, in dying, they still get work done. So it's like darned if you do, darned if you don't, kind of deal.
Mhm. Yeah.
Before we get too far, though, I did want to point something out here that Jay Beatnik said. Didn't want it to go by. They had a tournament in St. Louis on the 31st, a charity event that raised $650 for St. Louis tornado relief in North County. So that's awesome.
Awesome.
That's the kind of thing we love to
That's
see in
awesome.
the War Machine community, that we are supporting each other and supporting others around us. So just wanted to make sure that we got a appropriate shout out to that. I did not want that to get lost in the chat. Um,
Absolutely. Do not want that to get lost.
I don't know if we want to move on from here or if you had anything else you wanted to talk about
I
with.
mean, I think the talk about all the ambush kind of leads into some of the discussion topics for today. But what do you want to move on to next? Did you want to talk about Captain Con?
Um,
Because we spent all weekend uh, casting, right?
yeah,
Everybody was casting over the weekend. Do you want to talk about Captain Con? I know we
I,
got that on the docket
I
today.
think the Captain Con is a big subject that I kind of want to leave to the end. Um, I think there's some other things I'd like to get to and kind of just leave Captain Con for the end because we'll get to as much Captain Con as we can get to, and
Okay.
if we don't get to all of it, then we don't get to all of it. But we have what I think 10 or so hours of casting on Saturday, and then probably another 6 or 7 hours
Absolutely.
of casting on Sunday. So that if you really want to the lowdown on it, you can listen to it in your car or watch it during something else or whatever. And you can get all the nitty gritty details, and we can just kind of touch some of the highlights closer to the end. That way, we don't, you know,
Highlights and meta insights.
exactly. But we have other things that we can talk about in the interim. Um,
Yeah. Then developing players. Then.
yep, absolutely.
All right, leveling up your game. And by that I mean also things that I have learned in terms of leveling up my game, which is especially with the document coming out, um, a lot of the new scenarios being what they are. There are some very classic things that you want to do in a competitive tournament environment. And one of the things you want to look at is your friend, your enemy, your op, the clock.
Is that because
Uh,
you're playing clocks? You want everybody to look at you? Is that what you're saying?
no, no, no. I'm talking about the death clock.
Oh, the death clock.
I'm
I
talking
see.
about the death clock. Yeah. I'm talking about the death clock, and I'm talking about one of the things that can happen is that you are playing your turn and um, you spend more time in a turn than you mean to, which is a thing, but that is something that you get better at with just reps. You put in reps on your opening two turns to reduce the time that it takes on unboxing your army. Very classic stuff, but never goes old. Practicing unboxing your army, especially in looking at the scenario packet, especially using War Table. Although War Table is different than actually putting something on the tabletop because your vision is different. Your the top down look always gives you a better vantage point than that table where you have that parallax going on. So you may want to put in that practice for unboxing your army. I know whenever I and playing a new caster, a new army, a new list. It's one of the things that I focus on is the unboxing, um, because I tend to like armies also with high model count, or at this point with clocks, I like armies with potentially multiple 120 millimeter bases. At which point, deployment and unboxing is crucial. to be able to make the most out of your army.
I'm gonna
Uh,
interrupt you real quick, Cass, with
yeah,
the 120. Since you mentioned the 120, you also mentioned earlier this week about the new rules for the 120s, where now terrain not objectives obstructions now need to be at least 6 inches apart from each other to make it a little easier for those 120s to move into the board or get onto the board instead of just
yeah.
previously the
I was
5.
thinking it was 5 last year,
It was 5 last year, so they increased it another inch. So, you know,
another inch.
yeah.
So it's less of a kill box than it was before for your for those 120s. Um, so what do you have to say about unboxing, Keith? Unboxing your army?
So I cheat as often as I can when I'm playing this game. And I do little cheats that people don't really suspect that I'm doing. And one of those things that I do is when I'm setting up the scenario, I'm thinking about how do I want to deploy my army. Are there flags? Are there 40s? Are there 50s? And what do I have in this current army that I've chosen that can score those spots the easiest. Speaking of that, since in the new SR now solos can score flag terrains by themselves, which is a huge deal for solos. I mean, it really brings up the value of solos, not having to have two models in a piece of flag terrain to score it. There was multiple times in games over the weekend in Captain Con where I just saw solos just holding down the terrain and scoring points, which was fantastic. It's
Yep.
really a big deal, and it kind of gives you more incentive kind of to play the solos that you have now. They don't feel so, I don't want to say valueless, but like having to have two solos to control a piece of flag terrain to kind of have scoring potential doesn't feel good, right? Like, and you kind of
Yeah.
want those spots.
They. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was almost like their buying them in a list was a detractor to your scenario pressure.
Right, absolutely. And now they feel like they have a place, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Each type of model now has a place. So when I'm setting up the scenario with my opponent, I'm thinking to myself, how can I deploy my army to most efficiently score points? How do I want to deploy my? Generally, I have two modules, as Cosmo would say. Like you got your main dynamo, and then you kind of have your your support package or your solo package or your different module, right? So I'm trying to
Hmm.
figure out which needs to go where, and that way when I'm actually I can take less time during my clock setup. I've already thought about a few things. It allows me to kind of put my pieces down a little quicker, saves me a little bit of time on my clock when I'm trying to deploy as for my opening setup. So that's what I think about, and that's how I think about deploying uh, when I'm first setting up to save myself a little bit of time.
Okay. So now let's move on to the next portion of this development, which is let's say you've done your homework, you've done your deploying, you're deployed well, you deployed quickly on your first turn. Your opponent, not so quick, and it progresses, and then we're looking at you go again, and then we find that your opponent has they are set up to whether either you're going first or whether you're going second. But let's say it's like turn three, turn two, and your opponent is at a larger clock deficit. And we're talking about they spent 10 minutes more on their turn than you spent. And it could be a much bigger value than that. But that is something that you should recognize on your clock, especially if their turn was mostly positioning, because you can get lost in the sauce when it comes to making sure everything's positioned correctly. And if your opponent has given you the advantage of the clock, it's maybe something that you want to take a minute at the beginning of your turn to look at the clock differential and say, okay, how much are they really threatening me here? Have they, say, popped a defensive team? Have they done something like that? And now that they've given me a clock advantage, how do I use that and leverage that against my opponent? Um, and this can be, how do I make sure that this turn I'm contesting all the things they need to contest, but that if they have like a very strong defensive feat, like your Zayrovs, like your Jakes, like your anybody who has those defense or armor feats, or those you can't charge feats. These very strong, powerful feats trying to control you. But if they pop it too early and they wasted a lot of time, this is one of the opportunities in which you can just be like, okay, contest, do this one thing, pass clock. And you conserved time that you will use later to play the game. While your opponent will be stressing more and more because you didn't walk into their defensive feat. You just kind of let it wash over you. And as long as you didn't sacrifice a lot of board position, you could be very well set up. And sometimes you see these defensive feats way too early, and they're preparing for you to be very aggressive in your board positioning. And you're just like, no, I'll just be kind of committal, but use as little time as possible. And getting those movements down is important too, because if you can gain those 10 minutes and then that next round you gain like 5 or 8 additional minutes over your opponent, you're now looking at having 20 minutes over your opponent on, you're having a third more time than your opponent does at the most crucial point of the game, which will be the end of the game. As long as they're not in threat, like everything's in threat range, or they're like consistently removing pieces easily that are value pieces that you're going to be relying on. And you just put out a paltry effort to maintain yourself in the game and get the points that you can get easily and just not overcommitting, because you don't want to throw away your time with them throwing away theirs.
I think this is a huge point because this is what I have noticed. This is one of the things that I noticed, if you watch the games, like I said, that we cast over the weekend, um, if you're paying attention, you will notice how many and how often we take extra time to look at the clock to see what the time differential between the two players is, because it is really important. And the thing of it is a lot of times what we do, and myself included, is that we'll see, oh, well, I'm up a lot on time, and then you end up giving that time back to your opponent, right? So you might be kind of like up almost 5 or 10 minutes. Like you could probably complete your turn, and still have 5 or 10 minutes over your opponent going into the next round, right? But what ends up happening a lot is you see that you have that 5 or 10 minutes, and you take that 5 or 10 minutes. Whereas, you could do kind of exactly what Cass said. Be aware of what you need to contest, be aware of what points are kind of freely given to you by your opponent, and contest the points that you need to contest and win the points that you can quickly and easily win. Go score them, go contest the others, and then throw it back to your opponent. And now you're continuing the time pressure. There's a very good example of this in the first game of the Masters. It was Hasker versus, I don't remember who, but Hasker popped his feet, I think, top of two, right? And said, come get me. And the opponent was like, nope, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to do a little bit of this, score where I can, pass the turn. I think he didn't spend very much time at all. And then kind of Hasker ended up kind of being a bit behind, both kind of on clock and on some other things. And he kind of like
Well, he
felt like
lost his feet for what?
he lost his
Right?
feet for yeah, for basically nothing in this case. And he was under, he had used so much time in the tank. He had used, so much time, and I think he probably felt like he didn't get what he was looking for out of the feet turn. And he kind of felt like, I think, that he really had to just kind of go for the assassination run, which was not great. Honestly, he almost got it, but it was like it was not great. But hey, look, he felt like he was at such a disadvantage at that point. I guess that he felt like that's all he had left to do. But yeah, no, absolutely. Being aware of your clock, being able to apply the time pressure, being able to apply the scenario pressure, it really can be overwhelming. The One of the games that I lost in an event was kind of like the reason it was the only game that I was actually down on time, and I kind of maybe I overfelt that pressure, and I just didn't think I was going to be able to get the things done that I thought. So I kind of went for an assassination that I probably shouldn't have gone for. And had I not done that, I had other avenues to do it. So yeah, take a minute at the beginning of your turn, assess the situation. Can you win? How quickly do you think you can get objectives? Do you, you know, assess your plan? Taking 30 seconds if you can do it and or thinking on your opponent's turn if you can do it, really can help you save a lot of time. And also like review some of these games, the live stream games, and you'll see like some of the really good players, they are just it's incredible how quickly they move their pieces, how quickly and decisively that they are making decisions across the board. And by the time turn 7 comes around, even they are like down to the last few minutes. So,
Yep.
it's very important to practice unpacking your army, like Cass said. And I believe even somebody said it may have been Jay Beeknick saying about, such and such of a player unpacks his army so quickly because they literally practice it over and over and over again so that they can be quick at it during the event. So,
Hmm. Yeah. And on top of that, for the testing those turns, right? Those um because you may be like, well, it's an event, so the pressure also is on in terms of like, oh, do I need to go for this now and use this time? But what I would recommend there is in your practice games, in your games that you're just playing, at the club, at the game store, on War Table that aren't rated, just uh, just trying out well, what if I don't go all in this turn? What if I just commit as little as possible and trying that out? Yeah, so in moving units, yeah, not measuring the 1 inch. So yeah, you don't have to be perfect. It is easy to eyeball. That is one of the things that comes with practice because it's one of the things that I'll do as like table testing every once in a while is having a unit and moving it and just testing moving it just because I have some models and I'm like, okay, let me do the moving it. And I'll look and see what actually 2 inches is versus my eyeball because sometimes it can be very relevant for offsetting AoEs, but that's only really for repo units that you see that kind of thing.
and I agree here with Multra. A lot of times only one or maybe two of the models in the unit even really needs to be in a specific place, and the rest can just kind of be around, right? Um,
Yep.
so that can save you a lot of time. Jay Beatnik, I think we'll get to this a little bit later. This is a very good point, but I think that this is something we're going to talk about a little bit more as we get later into the cast. So, if you
Hmm. Hmm.
could try to remind me later when it comes up more
I
similarly.
will see if I can remind you later.
Thanks.
Okay, so yeah, yeah, movement of models, like because especially units, those the only units that you really like, and these you'll know the formations, because the formations being like, okay, I have shield wall units, so they need to be base to base if you're going to be shield walling. So then you're like, okay, here are my pods. And doing a like figuring out what how you want to do your 5-man pods versus your 3-man pods and things like that. 3-man's kind of easy because either you have two in the front and one in the back, or one in the front and two in the back. It just depends. It's better with the one in the front because of pulls, but your mileage may vary.
So,
Uh,
sometimes you may want all three next to each other, and typically that's if you're trying to score multiple 40s, right? If there's two 40s kind of close to each other, you kind of have to line them up if you want to score both at the same.
yeah, absolutely. And sometimes with the shield wall units, you'll end up doing silly things like shield walling them off of a run and making them a conga line to get to to contest something. But those are more rare things. Um, I yeah, this is one of those things that just takes practice. It just takes time. And even if you're not an incredibly spatial person, getting used to what the 2 inches looks like when practicing is helpful. Um, Having a plan is helpful. Like read the scenario packets, read them, understand where you need to be. And another trick that this doesn't directly go into the time thing, but is on the same vein of what you said. But the reverse is figure out what models your opponent has that they're going to use to score certain kinds of things, and what models do you have to fight those models.
That's a good point. Like, I saw some really cool things in some of the games where you would think that you would think that they would be going after the heavy, but instead they killed the unit. And the reason they killed the unit is because they were standing next to 40s, right? Like, and they wanted to turn off
Mhm.
scoring, and the cohort model doesn't score even though it's the better piece, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So like, if they can't score because they don't have a unit next to a 40, then that's the better thing. And little things like that can make a big difference. It takes some attacks to take down a cohort model, and typically not too many attacks if the unit is small, like a 3-man unit or whatever like that, to just wipe them out.
Mhm.
And little things like that. The other thing that I like to think that helps me save time is when I'm designing a list, I have a very specific intent for that list to accomplish. And because I have those lists are kind of narrowly focused, it really, when I'm playing the game, I'm trying to accomplish those goals. And it does kind of maybe sometimes allow me to miss some opportunities during the game, but it saves me a lot of time, a lot of mental thinking and processing time to accomplish that if I'm able to kind of stay on track. So that's just another kind of aspect of list creation that you don't necessarily think of plays on the table. Uh, but it really can save you a lot of time if you have a specific intent. And I think some of the people that are playing the higher level lists, I think one of the reasons why they can move so deliberately is they understand what their list is trying to do very distinctly, and they are focused on accomplishing those specific goals in their list, accomplishing those objectives, scoring particular points, or maybe just spreading out their opponents so that you can assassinate their caster. You know, those are all things, but those are part of list creation, right? Like, you have an intent, you're trying to juke your opponent, as it were, into certain things that they don't realize you're trying to do. But any case, I don't know if
Yeah.
we've beaten this to death or not, or
I would say the last note that I would put on it is this is a relevant technique for all of the gameplay styles, even assassination. And I say that because if you can put a time pressure on your opponent, it will make them sloppier. If when your opponent makes mistakes, it means they get assassinated. That's typically how this game works. Now, I'm not an assassination whisperer, but I know it is at the time, those are the times where the caster is put out the most, unless you're like, you go all ins, at which you're going all in, so the opponent has to bring your caster forward if you can take enough pieces, but that's a little bit different of the story. But yeah, I think we've beaten this dead horse.
okay. What would you like to talk about next? I know what's next on the
What I
outline.
like it. I know what's next on the outline, but I don't know if I want to talk about that next.
Okay.
We could. Do you have Brandon's list? I know we saw Sturm and Drang over the weekend. We could
Oh,
talk
you want you
about.
you want to go you want to go into pigs? Is that what you're ready to go into Thornfall? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah,
All right,
off
I can
the
bring up some
scrap
Thornfall.
heap pigs.
All right, give me a second.
We
Let me
got pigs in 3D, so let's do some pigs.
All right, let's do some pigs. All right, what we have here is this is Brad Park's Thornfall list, and I picked this list very
Yeah.
intentionally because one, he played on our stream at least once, but maybe twice. That's right. Hell yeah, pigs. This is a all pig podcast. I don't know what it's like when certain other commentators that frequent this show are on here mainly, but we do like to cater to our audience, and our audience definitely loves Thornfall. So here we are. Anyways,
Here
like
we
I said,
are, pigs.
Brad Parks, amazing, amazing player. He is the champion of Thornfall right now, as far as I'm concerned. He was on our stream at least one game, maybe two.
I think it was two.
Yeah, I think it was two. Yeah, no, I'm almost positive it was two. I think he won the first game, and then he played against Cody the second game, and he lost that one, unfortunately. But he took Thornfalls into the Masters. So good on you, Brad. We really appreciate you here on the Amusing Panda podcast, or at least on the Gun Bunnies part of the Amusing Panda podcast. So that's right. But this is the this
uh,
that I thought was very interesting, and he played this list both times on stream. So I'm thinking that he probably dropped this more often than he brought Carver, which was his other list. So I wanted to take some time to kind of review his list for all the Thornfall players that we have in the audience to see what he's bringing and what kind of success he's having here. But first, he's bringing Storm and Drang. So I'm going to bring up Storm and Drang here, and we're just going to do a little bit of review of Storm and Drang to show you what he does. Um, he's got mental domination, shield guard. While its models in control range, War Beast and its battle group gain shield guard. When a friendly faction model, yeah, we know what shield guard does. Struggle of wills before the start of the game and at the start of each of your maintenance phases. Your first turn, you choose which mind is dominant, Sturm or Drang. So you can kind of switch between. He's got
mhm.
Rat
Different
6
spell lists
3A.
and everything like that
Yep.
for whoever's
Camo
out. But
Fifth.
yeah,
Yeah. Deflection, Polarity Shield, Telekinesis, and Vision. This is a very good spell list. Very good spell list. And then Psychic Apocalypse is very good as well. While in Storm and Drang's control range, enemy cohort models cannot gain or be allocated or spend focus essence points or be forced. This is a great defensive feat here. I
also stops channeling.
Yeah, and also stops channeling. Which, I mean, this is a very good feat. I do not know how to. Is it go here? Is this string? No.
Drang is a separate card.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'll do
He's
it.
right below. He's a
Yep.
companion
Okay.
card.
And then Drang has obviously the same.
Mental domination overtake.
Sorry, I skipped here. Strang has Berserk, so he can kind of go on a run. Mental Domination, while his model's control range, War Beast and his battle group gain Overtake, so they can kind of go on a run as well. Ferocity, cohort models in this battle group gain +2 speed when making a charge, so good to if you feel like you can get the Alpha Strike. Short-sighted, this model cannot upkeep spells. Well, that's not great. Struggle of wills before the start of each game. At the start of okay, yeah. So that you can switch between them, and then of course he has Killing Ground. Friendly faction models beginning a charge within the spell control range gains Pathfinder. So if you need Pathfinder on the board, and a lot of the boards these days definitely have quite a bit of terrain, so it's very possible. Even if it's not forests. A lot of times it can be rubble or linear obstacles. And then, of course, obliteration. We all love obliteration.
Well, did you mention the free charges?
I thought that I did.
That's on Killing Ground.
Oh,
Killing Ground is both Pathfinder and free charges and slams.
well, you know how I am. I stop reading after I get excited about something.
Yeah, you get the one sentence and you're like, I'm done. And it's like,
That's right.
yeah, I
Wait, there's
understand
more?
Pathfinder.
How could there
There's
possibly
more.
be more? It's so good. Yes,
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Oblit.
If only
Mm.
obliteration was cost 3. Actually, if really only, I guess it's a 15 over 8, so it's pretty good. But yeah, I kind of agree. I think some of the spells are a little bit high cost. I wouldn't mind them being a little cheaper because, like, there's just not enough spell assassins in the game. And it's not like pigs are just got like arc nodes coming out of their, you know, everywhere, right? So,
Out of
like,
their snouts.
out of their snout, right? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you gotta. I think they need to give us a little more here, right? I know, right? It's unfortunate. But in any case, that is Storm, Stern, and Drang. I think as we'll see as we go through this podcast, as we go through this cast and review some of the other lists at Captain Con, this Shield Guard I think is actually very important in the current meta, and we'll get to that later on. But
Hmm.
the Shield Guard and this feat makes for a very good defensive feat, which can really buy you some time and kind of keep you very safe, more so than you would think. I don't know. With all the complaints about like Zadaroth's feet in 2025. I mean, do you feel like this? Would you rather have Zadaroth's feet or would you rather have Storm and Drang's feet?
For Sturmadrang, I like the feat. I like feats like this. But feats like this are less common now. Um, Outside of you really have to hit the legacy factions for them. But would I rather have Zate's or this? Zate's feat counteracts. Honestly, Zate's feat counteracts something different because it's counteracting. It's giving a defense buff and it's
I
giving
know.
dodge, which is really hitting infantry more than it's hitting boosting. It does hit your boosting in terms of like you're spending the focus and the fury to make up for the defense if you want to still hit. But I think this feat's great. I think Sturm and Drang has had the feat like this for a while, and yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah. All right. So then he's bringing a battle boar with Adrenalize. Adrenalize, the model can use Adrenalize at any time, which gives it Berserk and overtake that activation. It does suffer D3 points of damage. And then it is repairable. And then it has Primal, which is a big deal. So bringing Primal to your army
Mhm.
is a very big buff. +2/+2, especially in this in with after all the changes to in January, can be a really big deal. It does force you to frenzy, but a lot of times when you're primaling things, I feel like you're putting them out there to get work done, and they typically die in return. So um, it can be a double-edged sword, but maybe not as badly as you would think. Um, but great model, 6 points for a 12-17 Fury 3 cohort is not bad at all. A little bit light
Which
on
is
the
awesome.
boxes at 22, but
You see that beast though at that point range.
yeah. I mean, he's 6 points, right? Like,
Yeah, he's 6 points.
next up we have
Gunbor.
Gunbor, yep, who has one of my favorite rules ever, bacon. I mean, it's not great, but it is a fun rule. When a model is destroyed, each living war beast with one each moves damage points. But this is a big deal here. This big gun has momentum. Momentum is a great rule. Anytime you can get a slam, particularly a slam where you don't have to commit your model fully, it is very good for scenario play and potentially. I mean, just being able to remove multiple models with one shot, depending on how it's lined up. But
Hmm.
it is Rat 5, but it is boostable, so that is a big deal. Range 10, POW 13 is a pretty decent gun,
And with Sturm and Drang, you have TK.
and with Sturm and Drain you have TK, so you can kind of walk 10, shoot, and then you can get TK'd backwards to keep yourself safe if they
Or
have.
you can TK forward to get that 12-inch range.
Yeah, you can do that, and then you can aim right and be Rat 7, right?
Well, I'm just also saying you could TK forward and you could have 17-inch threat on that momentum
That's true.
gun.
You can do it that way too. Or if you really need it, you can TK the gun bore forward and the enemy model forward, right? And then you get an extra 4 inches, right? So now you're at 14. But I don't think Sturm and Drang without an arc node wants to be that far forward. I never saw this being used. I didn't ever see Counterblast get used in any of the games, so I don't know that this is as big of a consideration. Um, Perhaps depending on the army that you're going up against, this could be more effective. Whenever an enemy model advances and ends movement or is placed within 5 inches of the spellcaster can make one basic melee or ranged attack targeting the model, then Counterblast expired, and it lasts for 1 round. It is inexpensive, but once again, I never saw it get cast in any of the games. So, anything else
It
you want
does
to say?
require. Oh yeah, no. I think it requires that fury, so it would be very situational that you would do it, but it's still a counteracting momentum shot.
Right. Yeah, the momentum shop is very good. It's an 8 point. It's an 8 point light. I'm going to call it at 1216. But the momentum gun is very good. Uh,
Listerine.
Listerine.
Like Cheersis or Listerine.
Yes, bloodthirst.
Uh,
When it charges a living or undead model, a model
yeah, you
gains.
can't TK enemy anymore, Keith.
Oh, you can't TK enemy? Oh, I'm so bad.
It says friendly now. I know. You
Yeah,
don't have TK anymore, so you don't know the rules to it.
that's true. That's true.
Ah,
Bloodthirster is +2 speed versus living or undead models.
undead?
Body Snatcher, Heart Eater. This model gains corpse tokens. When this model destroys a living or undead enemy model with melee attack, this model gains the destroyed model's corpse token. This model can have up to 3 corpses at any time. This model can spend a corpse token for the following: Death Feast. During activation, this model can spend a corpse token to remove D3 damage points for each token spent. Butcher's Course. During its activation, this model
Butcher's
can spend a
Curse
corpse
is
token.
so good.
Yeah, can spend a corpse token to cast one of the spells on leader cards with cost 3 or less. This model cannot cast upkeep spells or spells with range of self or control. I mean, you know, a 3 cost oblit wouldn't be the worst. I mean, maybe it comes down a little bit in power, but yeah. Anyways, Carrion Hex.
Arian Hex.
During its
During its active action, this model can spend a corpse to use its animus without being forced. Um, and it's a channel. Oh, we have an arc node. It's a
Oh, yeah,
15-point arc node, but it's an arc node.
it's what you get.
We'll skip over to the animus real quick, and then I'll go over the weapons. We have Putrid Miasma is what you could get out free, which is 6 inches of magic resistance to friendly models. So that is star-crossed for spells. Uh, yeah. And so the weapons loadout is a 17, a 15, two 14s at mat 6, and 4 Fury. He's a beefy boy. He's got grievous wounds on that cleaver, and he's got 2 chances at crit knockdown.
It's really good. I
I
mean,
like it.
you're gonna charge in with the blood marked cleaver for sure, but then once you follow that up with a couple of gores, right? Like you might not have to make any more attack rolls after that, right? Just buying wins or buying a lot of free damage. Yes, pork
But
node.
yeah,
Um, I just want to address why I put this up here real quick, Multra. It's because I am living in Mark II still, and I just can't give it up.
it's been so long.
I know, but it is what it is. All right. Any other comments we want to make about Lytursis or
Listerine is lovely.
Listerine?
Listerine is lovely. I
Lytursis.
love his rules. I mean, he's a great character heavy. I don't know
He
what
is.
else.
He's got 4 fury. I think 15 points. I feel like he's really. I think he's worth all 15 of those points. There's a lot of times where characters are high cost, but they're not necessarily. Yeah, it's hard. Like I think Lytursis, whatever his name is, Listerine is probably worth his points most of the time. I mean, with a 17, 2 14s, and a 15 and 4 Fury, that's just a lot of damage without all these, even if you didn't have all these extra rolls, right? And then when you add in the Putrid Miasma and the Corpse tokens and the +2 speed, like there's really a lot of value here. I would feel pretty comfortable taking this guy in a lot of lists.
And notably, as Jay Beatnik says, I mean, Storm of Drain, TK.
That's right. Yeah, and when you have TK, then even better, right? Um,
All
even
right.
if you can't
Last thing
TK the
we have is the classic Warhog in this battle group.
That's right.
The Warhog is yeah, your 12, 19, 30 box for Fury Heavy
That's right.
with a with that aggression dial, so you get to increase that damage for that D3 damage. Um, repairable. He's oh yeah, 2-inch reach now on those cleavers. PAL 16 cleavers, which go up to PAL 18 on the aggression dial, and
That's right.
PAL 15 gore with crit knockdown.
Which is PAL
Uh,
17.
and he's
With the,
got the lovely slaughterhouse animus with grievous wounds. With I love the slaughterhouse animus. Um, back in the Scythian days, the Scythian days.
hmm
Even better now. Grievous wounds is.
I mean, this guy's packing a lot of real power. Still Fury 4. It's kind of like a 18, 18, 17, even though you do have to pay a little bit of damage for it.
Yep.
Um,
He pays boxes for damage.
yeah, I mean, this guy is an output. Like he and Matt 6
You
on
put
both, right?
you
Like
put primal on him.
I mean, this guy's an animal. Like he can really do a lot of work if he needs to. I mean, obviously he's an animal because he's a pig, but I mean, like, he's got some good output for 13 points. He really does have a lot of good output. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the Battle War or the Warhog rather?
On the Warhog, well, I'm gonna agree with Jay Beatnik over here about the Roadhog not having a lot more use now because the threat range increase is not it's not sufficient. On the Roadhog, I agree with you.
His PAL
Yeah,
15s aren't doing it on the Roadhog. It's only one, but it's got crit knockdown, right? So it's worth it to
yeah,
maybe
but
fish for
no,
the crit.
no, 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 no. The Roadhog, not the Warhog. The
Oh,
Roadhog
the Roadhog.
is doesn't have 2-inch reach, is the same point cost, has
Gotcha.
less damage,
I see.
has
We're
less
not.
like yeah. I agree with you. But yeah, let's go to this Razorback. I love seeing these Razorbacks in action.
Repo 3, always nice. And advanced deploy, undervalued rule, I think. Advanced deploy is very good for positioning. Um, he's got a gun and a shield. So arm
Hmm
14 is really arm 16. So he's a 13, 16 effectively, which is a pretty okay defensive stat.
With 5 boxes,
With 5,
straight up that brutal blast damage.
that's right. Brutal damage. And on the on direct hit, gain an additional die on this weapon's damage
Hmm
against the target directly hit. So it's not the
Oh, it's
blast.
only against the target directly.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's POW 14 brutal and POW 7 blast. But
14-14 though, that is good stuff.
yeah, 13 16 defensive stats, pretty good, tough. AD, you can kind of get set up a little bit. You probably can get a little bit of an aim. Only rat 5, but you know,
All right, let me ask you the question. You know the question I'm going to ask you. Would you rather have your machine guns or would you rather have a Razorback?
I'd rather have my machine guns, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Well, you were asking me the question about the machine guns.
it's a fair
And
question.
saying
It's a fair question.
we always ask the question: would you rather have that or your machine guns? You
That's
want the
true.
machine guns. Okay. What do we got next? We got Magnus and Invictus, who are faction.
Yes. Let me tell you, in the games that I watched with I don't remember the guy's name. Whose list is this?
Is Brad's.
Brad Park. Yeah, when I watched Brad Park, like he absolutely always had the better Magnus, and he was against Magnus both times he played this list, and he absolutely always had the better Magnus because it was in faction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so
It
I mean,
benefits from deflection, benefits from polarity shield, can benefit from vision.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, and a lot of times I think to myself, I mean, like Polarity Shield is kind of like a useless spell because it really only it doesn't protect you from infantry, right? But
Well,
non-con
everybody's
most
infantry is
construct,
fine but mine.
yeah, sure. Okay,
My
fair,
my entire faction's
fair.
countered by polarity shield.
Uh, yeah, that's true. My point being though is
Except for
on
R2.
Magnus
She can charge just fine.
specifically, because you're putting him as a independent module, typically he's going to be against another Magnus with the meta being what it is right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that means that Polarity Shield, he's really only gonna get charged by other Magnus. So it kind of is pretty good. Um,
Yeah, it is. You
yeah,
mean Invictus in this case.
yeah,
Yeah, he's going to
Invictus.
get
Sorry, yeah,
charged by Invictus.
yeah,
So Invictus on Invictus violence, our Invictus is better.
right,
TKing Invictus, TKing any of these true mercenaries, always good.
right.
So TKing Invictus, great. That's 2 extra inches of range. Or you get to back up. Um, which you already had some of that with Energizer. Energizer plus TK, delicious.
So good. Yeah, like
Our Invictus charges further.
yeah, the Invictus was always like the other opponent really had to it really needed to bring more to deal with this, and I'm not sure that they really ever did. I was
Mhm.
a little bit surprised that he wasn't more aggressive with Invictus because I felt like he had kind of a bigger advantage maybe than he realized, or maybe I'm just not good enough to appreciate the threat of the opponent. I don't know. I'm a very aggressive player. I think a lot of times in terms of positioning or taking up board space. I don't know if there's anything else we can say about Invictus. He's kind of the top of the meta in terms of the true mercenaries
Works
right now.
right
Yeah,
now.
until proven otherwise. Uh,
He's just a big bully. He's
yeah.
just a big bully right now.
Yeah, it probably is a me problem, Steven. You know.
It sounds like it.
Uh,
uh,
I'll say I'll repeat.
yeah. Jake Beatnik, you're right. It protects you against construct infantry and scorn and convergence. You're absolutely correct. As playing rocks previously and robots now, yes, my constructs stay polarity shielded.
I like Aberration. Um, I have not seen Aberration played in Captain Con. That doesn't mean it wasn't there. I wasn't at the event and I didn't see it on the stream and I didn't dig deep enough into list to know how many of them were there. But it seems to me like Aberration's a great piece if you have like kind of a revive strategy or something where you can get a lot of work out of Nastilla for that as well. Um, there's what 3 casters that have it in the meta. I'm not sure what you mean, what the it is in this sentence. Um, Aberration, if you have like a revive strategy or you're trying to bring models back to kind of like be able to continue to contest or be able to kind of force your opponent to continuously have to kill difficult models to kill to contest scenario, etc. Like that is a very good strategy, but it's kind of more like a specialized strategy, kind of like Big Pig. I think also is very good, but he kind of wants to take advantage of like an armor debuff. So if you have somebody that has
Well, the
calamity
thing is
or
in this you can take
parasite,
Big Pig and Magnus because Big Pig is just a character in the pigs.
right? I don't mean in Thornfall. I'm just talking about the
Yeah, I
three
know.
true mercenaries, generally speaking. Like, so it's I think if you don't have a plan other than just kind of like you want them to hold down the side and you don't You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have like an armor debuff or a revive strategy or something like that in your list. I think Magnus is going to be the kind of go-to guy right now. But if you do have some of those other things, then I think they definitely have their spots to shine. But I think everybody that I saw was playing Magnus currently.
All
Um,
right, we got Targe next. Targe is the attachment. Has arcane assistance, has repair, has ancillary attack for our gunboard, and also Magnus.
I was going to say, I saw this guy have
Or not Magnus, but Invictus.
Invictus. I saw this guy ancillary attack Invictus several
Yeah.
times, and let me tell you,
Yeah,
it is effective.
yeah it
Having
is.
ancillary attack to knock down, to have two chances to knock down the opponent's Invictus is fantastic, which it did happen. Anything else you want to say about Tark?
I mean, he's an attachment. He's the correct cost, which is low for an attachment. Yeah, if you've got an upkeep, he's worth taking. He has ancillary on top of that. Both of those are great abilities.
Yep, the Wastelander.
The Wastelander. All right, so the Wastelander is a I would say combat solo, but let's be real. The Wastelander is the take a bullet guy. Um, He's speed 7, mat 7, defense 14, armor 13. He's got unstoppable pathfinder, blade shield, deflect when a enemy model misses this model with a non-spray ranged attack. The attacking model becomes the target of the attack directly, so you deflect the bullets. He has sprint. He has take a bullet, which allows him to become the target of a ranged attack that is targeted at a model. So yeah, the take a bullet is hilarious with deflect. Um, Wastelander, great. Also, POW 10 Weapon Master with decapitation. Um, yeah, I think Wastelander is great.
Wastelander is great. I feel like I saw in one of the games that was played. I think I saw a caster get surprised, take a bulleted, and took their own shot. Which was hilarious, and I was like, "What just happened?" It may not have been a caster; it may have just been a different important solo. But I was caught off guard by it. I thought it was amazing. It was very amazing. I mean, he also happens to be a POW 10 weapon master with decap, which is
Yes.
pretty damn good. Hmm.
All right, we have the good old Pharaoh bone grinders, the oatmeal guys. I know you're not looking at the picture, but it's the oatmeal guys. Yeah, so they are a three guys for 4 points. They have bloodthirst, dismember. They are your condition guidance healing unit. Condition guidance unit. Yeah, they're fury management. They also have great abilities in that they bruise wounds. They also have inflict pain. They're a good support unit,
Absolutely, they
and
are.
he's not taking too many of them, which I think is great.
No, and another point that I think the person that won Captain Con said is, you really want to have at least 3, but probably 5 units in your list because of the amount of 40s that are available to be scored. Or even flag terrain, right? Like a unit is still pretty good at scoring flag terrain. Sure, you need to have 2 models in it, but like when you're bringing 5 or 3, then 2 models is not that big of an ask, right? So units can really just can do a majority of the scoring. The only thing they really don't score is just the 50s, right? And there's kind of less 50s, I think, in the scenario packet than there was
There are.
comparatively.
Yeah, I agree with you, JB. They do have that far reach, even though they don't hit that particularly hard. Um,
But we haven't gotten to them yet.
or the grinders, the bone grinders have bloodthirst.
Oh, Bloodthirst. I misread what was put
Yeah,
there.
they have Bloodthirst, so yeah, you can get them up there in terms of their general speed.
Yeah.
All right, Commandos. We have Adrian Pigs. And I say Adrian Pigs because every time I look at them, I'm like, it's Adrian's. It's Adrian's. But pigs. Yeah, so there's P5, Mat 6. Yes. Because of Dismember. Yep, Pouch and Weapon Masters. All right. That shows my gator bias that I did not notice the weapon master against war beasts. I just kind of glazed over that a little bit quickly. Yeah, no, amazing, amazing. Um, Grinders can get out there. They have that additional damage. So Powton weapon masters love my weapon masters. Being able to cut into those beasts, also making it so they either can't heal or loading them up with fury so that they frenzy next turn and get one pig for their trouble. Yeah, no. Commandos are oop, commandos are their ambush unit. Um, they got tough. They got Pathfinder, AD, Feign Death Prowl, Brutal Charge, Pow 12 on the charge. Oh yeah, they with the Weapon Master against Beasts, they absolutely are a top tier support unit. Um, trying to remember.
I will say that this kind of brings us back to the troll conversation, back to the ambush conversation, right? So
Mhm.
he was ambushing these units every game that he played. I obviously did not get into masters in the event, so I don't really have a leg to stand on. But I did notice that he waited a lot of times till round 3. I don't know if he felt like that he just wanted them to have one more round of contesting, so it didn't really matter to him if they died. They're, a 5-point, 5-man unit. So if that's all you want them for, then I think they performed exactly as expected. They killed a couple of models, but they mostly prevented the opponent from scoring multiple points over the course of the game. So, in that
That is
regard,
what I would take this unit for myself.
yeah,
Given 5 points, given they have grenades.
yeah, and 5 points for an ambush unit that, I think at that point cost, if they die and they prevent your opponent from scoring 2 to 3 points, I think they're absolutely worth that point cost. Um, and if they get to do a little bit work on top of that, then they're absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Moving over
Um,
to the slaughterhousers.
oh, I love
I
slaughterhouses.
love
Uh,
slaughterhousers too. It's so much work. Oh my gosh, these guys are so good. I would be
I,
hard pressed not to want just 4 units of these guys. I do love.
I'm although we have to let people know that of course this is Mark II glasses because ran
Well,
a lot of slaughterhouses in Mark II.
I
Um,
mean, I mean, let me tell you, these pigs killed some models on Captain Con. They really did. I mean, the first
mhm.
one might not do a lot of damage, but every single one of them afterwards do. Or it,
Well,
you got guns in
well,
the
pay
list.
attention to the list. You got guns in this list.
Yeah, exactly. You
So
got guns in
guns
the list. Like,
immediately
you need
turn them
only
on
1 point.
in terms of like making finisher happen. They're Mat 7. Like if it's funny that when you want your comparison to go to something that's in prime that is a really good unit right now is I believe it's Deathbringers. Is it Deathbringers is what they're called? Death Healers. Talon Death Healers. So Talon Death Healers are speed 6, mat 7, defense 13, armor 15, 8 boxes, but you only get 3 of them for 7 points. They also have finisher and a power 13 grievous wounds attack. But the comparison here is you're looking at more dudes with finisher going on. You're looking at takedown as opposed to grievous. Like the DNA is strong in looking at death dealers to these. Death dealers may be chunkier, but you get five of these guys. They're FA4, which I love. Five of them, they hit the is this a bang? Yes, this is. This is a bang. Um, man, seven.
I mean, it's like you can so easily set up a trade with these guys. I mean, they are 7 points, but like you can put
Oh, were they FA2 before JB Nick?
they I don't know. They might have been.
They got a bump in FA. Ooh, okay. Yeah,
They're
FA4.
FA4 now, so they could have been either 2 or 3
Delicious.
then.
FA3. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. FA3 and now they're FA. Oof. Yeah, Slaughterhouser. So good.
I mean, it's easy to set up a good trade with them. Like you can put a cheap jack out in front of them or out in front, and then it's just like, they got to dedicate something to kill it, and the slaughterhousers can definitely just come in and get it done. Those guys are so good. I love me
How
some
about these
slaughterhouse.
girls down here? These Valkyries. All right. Valkyries. Stout. Stout piggies. So we have a shield wall unit with Vengeance. With Shield Guard, I love units with Shield Guard. 6 points for 3 5 wound Valkyries. Mat 7, Rat 5, Defense 13, Armor 15, Tough, Shield Wall, Shield Guard, Vengeance.
I mean, you say they're 13-17s, really, right?
Yeah, they're 13 17s.
And they have tough, and the new shield wall prevents knockdown. So like that's really can be very irritating, right? Like 13-17, tough, no knockdown. So like they can just keep toughing it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they only have
Uh,
5 boxes, but they can kind of feel more durable than that.
Yeah, but when you compare it to a lot of the other stuff you're seeing in Pharaoh, they don't have a lot of box units like that. So you're looking at what is premium here for the durability. And Mat 5 or Mat 7. Mat 7 on a power 12 crit knockdown attack that's reach and a buckler cannon that has the pistol icon.
2 POW 12s, not bad. You get to charge with one and shoot with the other. So I mean, if you kill, it's range 8. So if you go in and kill with a charge, you can then take a little bit for a deeper shot, right? Like
They don't have the mixed arm rule.
oh, they don't have the mixed arm rule. Oh, my bad. My bad. All right, I take back everything I
That
said.
feels like something that they need.
Yeah, but
Feels like something.
vengeance is good. If you do happen to kill one, you pay for it, or you can pay for it.
But yeah, no, I like the Valkyries. Yeah, and they a good recursion target, a good healing target, a shield wall, a shield guard unit, shield guard units, so premium.
Yeah,
Um,
shield guard with
in
shield
this
walls.
environment.
They've got 5 boxes, 17 armor. I mean,
Yeah, but you're going to be absorbing those boosted shots. It's
right.
lovely.
And I think what Drang has battle group shield guard, right? So like,
Yeah, everything's a shield guard. You get to decide where things go.
right. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and then another 3. So 6 shield guards in this list.
Plus the Wastelander.
Plus the Wastelander, seven shield guards. Yeah, the Wastelander's the extra cool shield guard, right? That's the
Yep.
Wastelander's the one that takes that shot from Vale, right?
Yeah. So
And then shoots it
they're
back.
on 3D print right now. The pigs are. They just started. Um, I'm looking at pigs coming out, and
Well,
yeah,
now that
I'm.
we've kind of talked about the pieces in the list, what do you actually think of the list?
What do I actually think of the list? So what I think of the list because we've broken down all the pieces, and I know the list is pairing with a
It's pairing with the Bringer of Mass Destruction.
Yeah, it's pairing with Carver, which is a very heavy hitting um list. Very heavy hitting list. But what do I think of this list? I really like this list. The TK gives a lot of threats. Um, I like very classic breakdown of your TKing basically a weapon master unit into very high threat. You have guns to be able to move around your opponent. You have very strong anchors on both Magnus and Listerine and Warhog. Like these are all very strong melee pieces that you get to boost with. The sources of damage are great because you're boosting the damage on the beasts with the battle boar. You are you get to decide where the shots go. You've got healing in your list. If people do not counteract healing, I yeah, I am a fan of the list. I think the list is very strong. Um, if these cards are right for the list,
They're not.
I'm actually
I didn't do the cards. I just did the.
well, I'm looking at the cards right now. So one of the things I want to mention for the cards, if these cards are right, is that there's Put the Fires Out, which I actually think is going to be a meta pick right now for a while. And I think that that's great given the unit backbone that's kind of here. Of the very like hard hitting, durable units, you've got Put Out the Fires to really protect them. You've also got Put Out the Fires for protecting someone like Magnus. Um, I think it was in Brad's game that I also saw some really great uses of duck and cover. So yeah, I like his list. I think it's very strong. Um, it What kind of list does it strike you as? Because it has some alpha strike potential, but I think it goes to what its threat is like 12 inches, maybe what is it? Maybe and Invictus is very far. If you actually hit Invictus.
To me, this feels like a very well balanced list, right? It's not
Mhm.
going all guns. It's not going all melee. It's not going all offense. It's not going all defense. It has a very good balance between the different components that it has. Whatever the opponent's like, if the opponent's army outguns you, you have the resources to engage them. If you outgun the enemy, you have the potential to still outgun the enemy because you're bringing a good amount of guns, especially through Invictus and the gun bore and kind of the spell throwing, and and the momentum gun, and you can really kind of mitigate a lot of the opponent's shooting between the shield guards you just get from the battle group, plus the Pharaoh Valkyries, plus the Wastelander. Like you can really kind of basically decide to play the slow game if you want to, right, and just position, or play the slow game if the opponent's not aggressive and force them to eat their clock, right? Like just take what they give you
Mhm.
and just do a couple of moves, shoot your guns, and stay safe, and force them to kind of become aggressive. You have a great defensive feat. To protect you from an alpha strike potential if you feel like you need to shoot. If you need to engage, I mean, Invictus has an incredible threat range with Energizer plus TK, TK plus some of the dials, and the melee output of this list in its battle group is just fantastic. I mean, Pharaoh Slaughter, like you can go in an alpha strike, and if you don't kill everything, you can you can go in for the second round with slaughterhousers. I mean, it's like you got layers, right? Like you can really just.
I think I want to correct you on the feet because the feet is what the missing piece of the puzzle was for me
Oh, really?
for him, which is it's control. It's a control feat.
Okay.
You're not popping it defensively. You're popping it to control your opponent. What your opponent can do in a turn.
That's true. I mean, well, I
You're
think of it as
ripping
defensive in
options away
feet
from
in the sense that you can go in and attack and pop feet, right? And they're not going to be they'll be able to counter with their infantry, but their heavies are just going to get their initials, right? So
them.
they're gonna it's gonna require them to use a disproportionate amount of force to remove a similar amount of models, which to me kind of makes it a defensive feat. But you can also kind of use it as a control feat to say, well, if you enter this area, you know what I mean. You're going to not be able to do all these
Yep.
different things, right? No channeling, no
Uh,
forcing, no any of that, right?
and I think it looks different from the horde side as well because you're also telling them you have to like your fury is possibly going to be messed up next turn. After this one, like not only do you not get to force this turn, but you're gonna have to cut the turn after
Right.
that. Like
Mr. Beatnik, this comment, well, yeah, you only have two heavies over the 50 millimeter scenario if you're rolling Invictus over the 40 millimeter or far scenario. If you want it, you clap back on your few heavies. Yeah, like you have heavies to spare if you still need to score. It's not just like a couple of heavies. It's a big battle group list. But another point that I didn't think about that is important for Invictus or really any 80 millimeter. One of the scenarios had two 50 millimeter objectives in it. And if you have an 80 millimeter base, it is just big enough to score both of them.
mhm.
And that is a thing to consider because otherwise you would need two cohort models to do it. Or unless you have a battle engine that's 120 or a battle engine that's 80 or a cohort model that's 80, right? So is a thing to think about in your list for scenarios. There is a scenario that will kind of allow you to score 250s at once. Um, it is just the right size that you can do it. I heard it mentioned on stream. So a little technology for you if you don't have time to watch the streams from over the weekend. Uh, I don't know why that reminded me of that, Jay, but it did.
All
We have
right.
spent a lot of time on Thornfall, and I am not unhappy with it. Um,
Nor should we be.
no, I mean, it's it's wonderful to have lovers of Thornfall or really any army in the audience and be able to play to the audience and give them the things that they that they're interested in. It's very easy to be on this cast and talk about other factions that people play on this podcast or this live stream. And I'm trying to stay away from that because it's easy to do, and we've got other people to make sure we take care of here. So,
Oh yeah, I
where would
am.
you like to
Yeah.
go from here? Is it?
Where would I like to go from here? So
We've got a little bit of time and about two tons of more content loaded.
I'm
For
so
this show.
happy for us.
Me too.
So happy for us. Okay, so I think we were talking about there's something I was supposed to remind you about earlier.
Oh yes, there was.
I'm trying to see if that is because it was when we were talking about scenario and
I do not remember. I remember Jay
I'm
Beating said it.
looking.
I just don't remember what it was.
Declaring intent and getting an agreement from your opponents.
This is one thing that I would like to say. Thank you, Jay, for bringing this up throughout the event. At least on the tables that we had the pleasure of commentating for, there was a lot of pre-measuring, a lot of declaring. Yes, declaring intent. There was a lot of really great sportsmanship that was happening in the community. Everybody that I recall seeing, they would declare their intent. They would mark down, the places, whether it was the enemy threat ranges or where they were intending to go. They were getting consent from the opponent one way or the other, depending on whether it was agreeing on the threat ranges or agreeing on like enemy threat ranges or your own threat ranges. Uh, Everybody was taking the time to make sure everything was clean, measured, and agreed upon before anything was done. And it was just a really fantastic. There was really no contentious games that I saw in any of the play. So for as competitive of an environment as War Machine can really be, there was a lot of goodwill. I remember seeing, I think, Cody multiple times saying, "Hey, you forgot this rule that really hurts me right now. Don't forget to hurt me." And I even think Cody reminded um, Brad Park. He was like, "Hey, Brad, don't forget to ambush your models this round. It's round three." It was just fantastic to see the sportsmanship and the community just really being there for one another. Um, yeah, it does. When things are clearly marked, it's and agreed upon. It really does. It really does stop a lot of arguments, and it really stops any kind of contention. Everything is nice and clean and smooth. And it's just makes the game so much more fun to play and uncontentious. And so yeah, thanks Jay for bringing that up. It's definitely worth mentioning again. Um, but that being said, where would you like to go next?
Okay, okay, okay. Well, I just wanted to remind you that that was the thing.
It's absolutely
Uh, yeah. So I think off of that, so we do not have time to go over the other lists at at Captain Con. I do not believe
that's fine. We got the most important list done, which is
we
why
did.
I wanted to make
We
sure that we
did.
did it first.
Yep, we did that first. The most important list, which was pigs.
Right. And
Uh,
and we want to thank Brad Park for well, not necessarily sharing his list, but we want to thank Brad Park us for being able to steal Brad Park's list for our off the scrap heap this time, because we know that Thornfall has had some rough times, but here's an opportunity. Like, Brad took Thornfall to the Masters, so it can be
Well,
done.
also their models are becoming more available now because of the 3D printing.
Yep.
Um, so it's great in the spirit of that, actually. My transition point has to do with a kind of spin-off, a kind of wind down for our last 30 minutes of our cast, which is about it's kind of an off the scrap heap thing, but it just has to do with armies of legend and what their places in the meta. Like what their places in the meta and what their places over the general um, ecology of both competitive War Machine now and War Machine going forward. And I know that we may have a distinction here between um, uh, those that are getting an update and those that aren't. Because we have Infernals soon that's going to be getting an update. They're getting a 3D release.
Right.
Um, and we're going to be getting Grimkin and Clocks are also getting 3D releases. So with that kind of stuff in mind, do you think, and I know it's silly for some of these, but overall, do you think it is a thing to where we are going to be seeing more, less, let armies of legend? Are they becoming outdated in terms of their rules, their mechanics? Um, like, what are your thoughts from what you have seen? Because I know that you looked at some of the old Signar, and we have talked some about some of the other factions of legend. Um,
So for First Army, which is the Signar that I prefer, the issue that I have with them is that they just don't have. They have some really cool, inexpensive jacks, but they do not have the focus efficiency that is in the new. Um, that's in the new Prime factions, and I don't expect that they ever will. I think probably some of those legendary armies are just not going to have the tools that the new things have, and I think things like clocks, things like Grimkin, things like Infernals, those guys are basically going to be prime factions once they get their update. Things like uh, Storm Legion and First Army, like there's already Signar in Prime. There's no need for Steamforge to continue to even really worry too much about those armies. Like there's a newer, better version of them, and I think it's good for their business model and kind of good for the game to kind of like continue to move forward. Like the armies of legend that are unique, like Convergence, Infernals, Grimkin, those guys are basically getting pushed into the new design, the new prime armies. And I think that's the right thing because they have a really neat and unique uh, look. They have a neat and unique dynamic. And I think they add to the game. And I think it's good to bring them into the fold, but there's only so much you can do. Menoth is not currently in the game, and I think there's some older factions that will continue to be brought into Prime, but I don't think that. I think it's good the direction that Steamforge is going. You kind of want to incentivize the new stuff, and I think they've done a good job of that, and they've given people an option to dip their toe into the game with the printable models. Thornfall, I think is
Dark
Clocks in
Operations,
Dark Operations. I think what is Clocks
Crucible
also
Guard.
Crucible Guard.
Clocks will be
Clocks will
this
be.
year.
So there are several choices that are very low investment that offer very unique play styles in the game. And I think this is a very good direction for them to help continue to bring people into the game. And with bringing people into the game too, I'm interested to see, and we haven't, to my knowledge, heard too much about what their new press gang or policy is going to be, because I think one of the biggest ways that privateer press in the past was able to build such a huge uh, following for the game was through the press gang initiative, and really rewarding people for getting on their soapbox and really promoting the game kind of their own free time. And it takes a lot of effort to run events. It takes a lot of effort to organize things, to advertise for them, etc. And it's a lot of times a lot more fun to play in the event than it is to run it. Um, there are certain kinds of people that would prefer to, or that they like playing the game but not really competitively, and so they're really happy to run events because they like doing those sorts of things for people as well.
Mhm.
And that should be rewarded. Like I remember Chris back in our meta, and he really organized all of the events, and he really wasn't that competitive of a player for the most part, but he really liked to play. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like yeah, he's getting some free models, but he's really just using them to bring more people into the game, which
Yep.
is fantastic, and it's really what we want to see, I think. I think I've a little digressed a little bit off the original topic, so let me get back on. uh,
Uh
I,
huh.
I like where they're going. I think they're slowly bringing up the armies of legend, at least the ones that they want to see into the new prime faction, and I think it's a slow enough process where over the next few years that it's really going to be kind of on you to update into the new system. I think the amount of time that they're giving for people to play those old armies is a reasonable or more than reasonable amount of time to play those armies competitively, before kind of deciding whether or not they really want to get into what the new armies offer. And to a certain extent, like I think, like for people that play Manoth, since Menoth doesn't exist, I think Menoth should be continued to be updated so they can be played until they get their spot, get their time in the sun, you know,
Mm.
until the transitions kind of happen, right? So I think I've.
I guess I'm also talking about the balance of it. Do you think the armies of legend that they have currently available in Prime are up to snuff when it comes to compare to newer armies.
I think there are some armies that are still very closely could be very competitive. I think some of the Crix armies are potentially really close. I think actually some of the old Kador, although now that the new Kador stuff has come out, maybe not quite as good. Some of that new
Mhm.
Kador stuff is pretty good. um, you know, and I definitely think there's some hidden gems, maybe in Circle, and in different places like that. Both the Scorn armies are still very strong. Um,
Mhm.
so I think there definitely is hidden gems there. But and I think there should continue to be those. Like I said, until Steamforged re-releases them into the new edition, I kind of think it would be good for them to kind of keep up the competitive balance of those armies until they, say, okay, well, now you have an option in the new edition to really play your army in the way that it is. Like, once the elephants come into the prime factions, I think it's time to not worry about keeping them as up to date in the Mark II, Mark III era models. Plus, I mean, they will think about that. Those elephants are awesome and huge already as metal models. Like as the new models, those things have got to be like
Uh,
fantastic. Like I mean, they've done such a great job with the models Steamforge has, and I kind of can't wait to see like new Menoth, new Scorn, among others, be
the
re-released.
80 mil Avatar,
Oh, I mean, come on, 120 mil Avatar,
120 mil Avatar,
80 mil Judicator. I don't know. Go wild.
80 mil. Uh, yeah. So
I mean, I've
I
talked a
I
lot about it. How do you feel? You play Army of
hmm,
Legacy, so you're definitely going to have a
yeah.
very different view than I have.
Um. So I play Convergence. And I play Convergence. I have a Dark Host army. Um, and I think most of what some of the armies now Convergence different from Dark Host. Convergence is going to get a re-release. Dark Host isn't. I think it's interesting. Before this update, I almost certainly thought that Dark Host was um, a really good army still. And it probably still is. I just think it's very one dimensional. It's a very one dimensional army. Um, I think that does lead to a question of how many dimensions exist in the Prime armies overall in terms of a game design perspective, because of the limited list count or the limited model count. I think there is a question on like what that looks like. But for the factions I've looked at and that I own for Prime, um, I think that there's some good variants. But for clocks, I think clocks have a lot of choices that you can make. I just think a lot of the choices you can make in clocks are the wrong choice.
Yeah,
Uh,
one of the things about Prime though is like they don't look like they have a models, but when you think about how many options there are on their light and their heavy kit, it is deceptively more diverse than you might think, if that makes sense.
um,
Sorry, it is funny.
240 millimeter Avatar men off your board. Uh, yeah. Um, I, but I also find that the feats in Armies of Legends are generally better.
They are,
Um,
but they kind of have to
Generally
make
find
up
better
for
feats.
the difference in the uh, model
Mhm.
goodness. I don't know better way to say that, right?
Not only model goodness, but there's something to be said in some of the factions. I can't say that this is actually true for all of the Prime factions, but in some of the Prime factions, some of those spell lists just pop and pop so well that it's like, wow, yeah, this would not pass. This would not pass muster back in the day. It's be too much. But it's because they don't have like as good of feats a lot of the time. Because we talked about Sturm and Drang speed, and Sturm and Drang speed's great. It hasn't really changed. Um,
I mean, and Durgan's feat, or not just Durgan, sorry, Gorton's feat is one of
Gordon.
my favorite feats in the entire game. It's just fantastic. I mean, even Durgan's feat is very good. Like, just kill it. Liam killed me so many times with boosted blast damage. It's embarrassing, right? Like, you just can't. Those feats are surprisingly better than they seem. Um, you know what I mean? They're a lot of fun too, right? But yeah, some of those older feats kind of almost have to be there because the armies are not as powerful as the newer armies, you know.
How do I feel about? Oh, yeah. So, I actually don't think that they are going to rework models that are similar. So let me explain models that were lost and why I think they were lost. So the primary thing that we lost was our two juniors. We lost Gatsby 4, and we lost Nemo 4. Was it Nemo 4? It was not Nemo 5. It was Nemo 4. We lost Gatsby 4 and Nemo 4. Nemo 4 being both of them were the damage fixing in the faction. And I say were the damage fixing in the faction because they weren't replaced. Um, so the faction has some casters with damage fixing abilities, like you have um, positive charge on LeConte, but I think LeConte, given all the changes through the years and being toned down, is not nearly as strong as he was. Because a lot of his spells, like if you decel and you positive charge in a turn, you don't get to both have shields up and have sufficient like focus to survive. You can be like, well, you can have shield guards, and it's like, well, like while I said the biggest thing we lost were the juniors, we also lost 4-point galvanizers, which I felt the loss of because I used a lot of galvanizers on the list. Now, Nemo and Asphyxius brought damage fixing. Asphyxius brought what I thought was our best heavy in faction. You could argue whether
You
it
mean
was
Asphyxius
Asphyxius.
himself?
Yes, Asphyxius himself was the best heavy in faction. Um, Whether it was Asphyxius or Primaxium was debatable, but I thought Asphyxius was the best heavy in faction.
And just to be
He
clear, for those that don't know, what Asphyxius is bringing for damage fiction, aside from just himself, is he gives out Dark Shroud to from himself and
his
for all
battle
battles, right?
group,
Yeah.
well, not
Oh,
himself.
not
He
himself. I'm
brought
sorry.
two little robots. Two little robots, three little robots,
I think it
three
was
little robots. He brought three robots that all had Dark Shroud. And he had his battle group had Dark Shroud, and I would bring like a Negator or a Galvanizer with him, so that you could just run him and have Dark Shroud. But he also has of course, the generator role, so he has 5 focus every turn. He was a 14-17 with 18 boxes. He survived surprisingly a ton. Nemo was even worse because he was a battle engine with like 28 boxes,
something like that.
20, something like that. 5 focus. And yeah, on Lucat Feature, when that was +4 armor, like you just don't kill that guy. That's what happens. And he had Electrify. So you give Electrify to one of your units. He had a good gun. He had a place effect on himself. He also allowed you to in armies like LeConte, which LeConte has 3 rat, which means your vectors have low rat, you could bring Nemo, who brought 6 rat. So you could attach them to Nemo, and Nemo could run them. And we're not gonna get juniors to replace that. Now, I admit in this SR, I think that it would have been too strong to have both Nemo and Asphyxious available because they would have allowed the spread to happen too much, too easily. You could spread your army so easily, and that's something that I was doing last Steamroller, was spreading my army really easily with both of them. I think that's also why we lost Aurora 1, was because she gave +2 speed and flight every turn to every warrior model. I I had had talks with other convergence players about how I thought that she was one of the best casters in faction. Because of that single feature, that speed buff on top of, you could have beacon on top of it. Though I'm still playing convergence. I'm still playing convergence even without those models. Because I'm interested in seeing the direction that they take things in, and I think that some of the changes were interesting. They increased the POW on our heavy infantry. Yeah, yeah. The replacement is the True Mercs, but a lot of it was I was taking True Mercs and like, so one of the lists I was running was Asphyxious and Nastilla with um with Aurora, because Aurora had Arcane Might. You could Arcane Might up Asphyxious. It was just nasty. Because of how much output he could do. Um, but yeah, I agree. You can take True Mercs now. I am sad to see Asphyxious go because, to be honest, it is the reason I was playing Clots. It was the last bastion of playing the Lich Lord. And I've played the Lich Lord since I started playing this game. Outside of the first battle box I got was actually Legion, so I've been playing Lilith a little bit longer. But Asphyxious was the caster that I've taken to the most events. Um, and I like having Asphyxious in my lists. But c'est la vie. I still have Negators, which feel like Asphyxious' evil children. Um, I think Negators, even though they got a debuff in losing amputation, they got a buff and they dropped to 5 points. I actually think that they are a good jack. Um, yeah, I hope they bring I hope they bring Gatsby, or at least somebody who is incredibly Gatsby like into the game. Regardless of what faction that ends up being
Yeah,
in.
I mean, he's one of those characters that is just good to have in the game. It's like Kane or Butcher or Gatsby. Like, there's people in factions that are just kind of perennial, and kind of like, you know, you hate to see them not be in the game, right? It just they're just great story.
And he's one of
You know.
the easiest people to hate.
Right?
Gatsby
Yeah.
is.
You need a good
Then
heel, right? Like
yeah,
right?
you need a good villain.
Yeah, exactly. His mustache twirling, writing in the henchhold that he's hilarious. Uh,
Like, I was sad when I saw him leave Dark Operations. When he was taken out of Dark Operations when they updated it, he's gone. He's gone when they update Convergence. I'm like, well, if there was any faction that he was going to be in that was Chris, yes, forsooth I am your dad. Uh, if there was any faction that he was going to be in, it would be Necrofactorum, because that had Cephalus in it, because of all of his deals with the Cephalus. But now it's like, oh, we're I know lore wise we're not getting him back because he went off to the stars.
to his
Um,
husband.
No, Nemo is not his husband. Strange Bedfellows, as fun as it was. Um, but I like the changes. I like the monitors getting the changes that they did in Cirrus. Yeah, I agree. Boo Warcaster. Boo Warcaster taking Asphyxious and Nemo from us. Boo Warcaster for that. I yeah, I I hope that we get um an angel um an angel character, Warjack, or angel character Vector. Um I would like to see that. I know characters doesn't quite make sense in convergence because they're vectors. Um, but I would like to see something like that. I could also see weird mechanics, but the thing is that the weird mechanics I could think about are things that wouldn't really fit the faction as much now as if you updated them to a prime faction, which is something like character relays, where you have a relay that feeds that you induct through, but gives is the mat and rat for the jack that you're using. So you're less reliant on that when picking your caster for lists. Always a thing that affects you a lot and is a fun part of the faction, but it can be limiting for some casters when they have really low rat, like somebody like LeConte has really low rat. Yeah. I had when just randomly shooting things around about things in the future in forums, it was somebody it was Aurora using the design for Asphyxius's body, and I would fucking love that. I would enjoy that as at least a homage or something like that because I want my host of angels. I want my host of angels list, and what that's missing right now is a vector with wings, a vector with flight. Um, yeah, that's what I'm missing right now. And yeah, I want to see modular vectors. Um, and pigs should be modular. Like thematically, pigs should be modular because they're breaking. It's Arcadia.
Wait, you don't get to
Arcadia.
have the ham without the pork, without the bacon and the sausage. Okay, like they all come together.
Yeah.
You don't get all pork, or you don't get all ham, or all bacon, or all sausage. It's like
Um,
you don't get to choose your pieces. Just the way it comes.
but yeah, we're going to see new stuff this year for Convergence. The biggest concern I have over the faction is kind of hitting power, but I'm willing to see how that goes. And I'm also playing different lists than I was playing last year because I just can't play those lists anymore. That happens. I move on. um, I'm excited to play my beacon monitors, and I'm playing Axis and Mother this year. I think Mother is going to be great this year because of the number of 80 mils. And I think if enough domination hits the table, eventually they'll nerf domination because nobody wants their 80 mils getting controlled. Oh yeah, Axis I love. Axis, I think Axis actually has, aside from Gordon, the best feat for that -2 speed, -2 melee damage, no charges, no slams, and you get +2 speed and +2 melee damage on your side. Um, yeah, I love Axis. But yeah, I think that's a cast.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have any closing thoughts before I tell Keith to get you out of here?
Yeah. It's been great fun. I love talking clocks always. I'm excited to get some results this year on clocks and hopefully surprise some people. And be ready for when those when they actually get released in 3D.
Also, I would like to thank everybody that joined us over the weekend for the Captain Con cast. We really appreciate having you on the comments. It does really help keep us company while we are casting. We really appreciate that. And thank you for joining us while we are live. I'd like to also pat kind of Amusing Panda on its own back to a certain extent, and thank the community again in a different way, as we have now surpassed 500 subscribers for the channel. So, you
Woo!
know, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. I'm sure that Alex has something planned. I'm not sure what it is yet, but hopefully we will update you when we have some extra cast or do some extra thing for the community as well. Yeah, let me tell you a little story before we sign off here. As soon as Alex told me that we were over 500 subscribers, I immediately messaged John and told us he owed us an hour a week now because we're over 500 subscribers. Well, he thought it was funny. He was not amused, and I tried to twist his arm, but it didn't work.
But it's Amusing Panda.
It is amusing, Pando. So, hey, look, I tried. I tried. Yeah, well, maybe we can convince him if we get 1,000 subs. I'm with you there.
Well,
I am
let's
all
let's
about some.
let's cut the difference and let's see if we can talk to him at 750, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Look, I'm trying here. I'm trying. I can only twist so many arms so hard. I'm sure John is with us in spirit and he would love to be here. I tried to get him on actually today as a surprise, but it didn't work out. I just too short of a notice. I didn't think of it quick enough. So my own fault for that. But on behalf of the Amusing Panda podcast live stream, I'd like to thank you all for joining us tonight and keeping us company while we talked Thornfall, one of our more favorite topics in this live stream. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. I'll have to find it. Yeah. Thank you for the support, and we look forward to seeing you again the same time next week on the Amusing Panda. And Keith, take us out of here.